Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're breaking down something absolutely incredible. We're looking at Arthur Schopenhauer's 19th century survival guide, and honestly, it is perfectly tailored for anyone feeling totally buried by modern information overload, the endless hot takes, and just that constant pressure to consume content. Schopenhauer was a guy who basically looked at the academic world around him and went, you know what, you're all doing it wrong. So let's dive right in with a pretty blunt question. Are your thoughts actually yours? Or are you just passively consuming content? It's incredibly easy today to just scroll, read, and repeat whatever someone else just said. But Schopenhauer really challenges us here to ask if we are actually doing the hard work of thinking for ourselves, or if we're kind of just using reading as an excuse to let our brains take a nap. And he gets pretty spicy right out of the gate here. He argues that reading is actually a trap if it ruins the elasticity of your own mind. He essentially says that reading is literally thinking with someone else's head. If you constantly run to a book, a post, or an article the second you have a free moment, you are scaring away your own thoughts. You're just using someone else's words as a makeshift substitute for your own real thinking. Which brings us to idea number 1. Info is not insight. The pundit versus the thinker. See, there is a massive difference between just hoarding facts and actually possessing living insight. Schopenhauer splits the intellectual world into two camps, the pundit and the true thinker. The pundit is out there just repeating dead paper memory they read somewhere. They cram their heads full of data just to show off, chase a reputation, maybe make a buck. But the thinker, they rely on the direct perception of reality. They aren't in it for vanity. They have a pure, objective interest in the truth itself. They look straight at the real world, not just at the books written about it. The absolute crucial goal here is achieving what Schopenhauer calls imperial immediacy. I absolutely love this term. It basically means you act as the total boss of your own brain. You're the monarch in the realm of your own mind, and you flat out refuse to be bossed around by outside authorities. You don't accept something as true just because some famous author or influencer said it's true. You only accept what you've confirmed through your own direct perception and logic. All right, moving on to idea number 2. Ditch the intellectual wig. Grow your own ideas. Think about a fake hairpiece for a second. If you're quoting others all day and relying totally on their ideas, it's basically like wearing a massive fake intellectual wig. It might look super fancy and erudite to the people around you, but under the surface, it's totally dead and unnatural. It's just not yours. And there are 3 fatal flaws to borrowing ideas like this. First off, the wig has no roots. Borrowed ideas are just put on. They aren't grown naturally from your own lived experience, so they easily fall off or just get forgotten. Second, it's a terrible fit. You're taking someone else's context and forcing it onto your own mind, which completely distorts your view of reality. And third, when that wig wears out, you've got to go buy a new one. You really want to push yourself to grow your own natural hair from the living soil of your own experiences, so your mind is always renewing itself. That leads us perfectly into idea number 3. Read the real world. Experience over books. So here, we're flipping a huge, very common assumption completely upside down. Reading too much is actually terrible for you. A mind stuffed entirely with book learning is just a museum of dried plants. Sure, it's a perfectly organized collection, but it's totally static. It's dead. Now, compare that to a mind constantly refreshed by the living book of nature. That mind is eternally fresh, always renewing itself through the actual living spectacle of reality. To really drive this home, Schopenhauer warns against an artificial education where we're taught feet first. What he means by this is that we cram our heads with abstract concepts, wild theories, and big words way before we ever actually experience the real world intuitively. We learn the word before we ever see the thing itself. And this makes us behave super rashly, because we try to force complex, messy reality into these neat little ready-made boxes we read about in a book. It's just totally backwards. Which brings us to idea number 4. Keep your style simple. Avoid narcotic language. The golden rule for expressing your original thoughts? Plain, clear English. You should use common words to say uncommon things. If you actually have a profound, well-thought-out idea, you shouldn't need a massive dictionary to explain it to someone. Simplicity is a mark of truth, and honestly, it's a mark of genius. So how do you spot a fake thinker? Well, keep an eye out for these signs. Fake thinkers absolutely love what Schopenhauer calls narcotic language and bombast. They write in these incredibly long, tangled sentences that just wind around and around. They essentially stalk about on stilts to make themselves look taller, But really, people who use huge words and endless sentences are usually just putting on a mask to hide the painful fact that they have absolutely nothing original to say. They're trying to look smart rather than actually communicate a clear thought.
Finally, we arrive at idea number 5. Digest your knowledge. Assimilate the truth.
Schopenhauer has this great, albeit kind of gross analogy here. He says if you just cram facts into your head and spit them back out, you're treating your mind like a stomach and intestines, where data just passes right through as undigested refuse. Real knowledge shouldn't just pass through you. You need to assimilate it into your blood. It literally has to become a living part of your system. And this leaves us with a very practical 4-step breakdown for actually digesting what you learn. Step 1, start with intuitive perception. Get out there and experience the world directly. Step 2, ruminate on it. Don't just rush right to the next thing. Repeatedly think over what you just saw. Step 3 is universal combination. Compare this new truth with everything else you know and see exactly how it fits together. And finally, step 4, assimilation. Make that knowledge truly organically yours so it actually informs how you move through life. We're going to wrap up this explainer right here with one final question for you. Now that you know the difference between the dead wig of borrowed facts and the living insight of your own mind, what's it going to be? Are you going to be a playground for other people's ghosts, settling for the chopped straw of conventional hot takes? Or will you claim the sovereignty of your own insight and become the true monarch of your own mind? Think about it. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and I'll catch you in the next one.